The sixth chapter of my forthcoming book is called The Source of Our Siddha Deha, which somehow follows in the line of the previous chapters, trying to address the topic of whether Bhakti is inherent or not in the Jiva by looking at from different angles. Bhakti, Swarup Shakti, Rasa, Prem, Bhav. In this particular chapter, the main focus will be in the context of Siddha Deha, or the spiritual body. So, of course, mostly I will concentrate sharing many quotes from the Bhagavatam to begin with, by showing how Siddha Deha is bestowed. It's not that we have some intrinsic spiritual body that is somehow inside of us and eventually will come to the surface, but it's something bestowed as a gift, again, by the Swarup Shakti, descending from the plane of the Swarup Shakti, from the Nitya Siddha plane, and descending and eventually maximizing, if you will, upgrading our Tatastha constitution and giving rise to a whole spiritual identity. There are many sections in the Bhagavatam speaking about this. One of them will be, for example, the famous case of Narada Muni, when he mentions this famous verb, Payujamani, and so on. And I make a very detailed analysis of this verse and the term Payujamani, where he says, being bestowed with the spiritual identity at that moment, I left my other sense of identity, and so on. Many verses from also in the context of Ajamil, in the context of Gajendra, very clear, again, Sanskrit expressions for indicating that it is bestowed and not awakened and not, whatever, something that may indicate that it is inherent. No, Sanskrit is a very specific language, so they have very specific terms. So if they want to make it clear it is inherent, it is intrinsic, they will use the corresponding terms, but we don't find that at any point. And even in Bengali, that happens similarly. I quote some famous verses from Ramananda Roy in his Ramananda Samvad with Mahaprabhu by referring to the same idea. And of course, when speaking about Siddha Deha, I also use the opportunity to explain how Siddha Dehas are not like, also, they are not inherent, but they are not like a suit waiting for us in a closet in Golok Vrindavan, in Golok Navadvip, just there hanging on, and eventually the suit will descend. But I describe that in terms of new waves of eternal becoming. In the eternal plane, in Golok, in the spiritual world, there are eternal being, but also eternal becoming. There are new situations in eternity. For example, if a new devotee enters the spiritual world, that's a new situation. It was not before, basically. And there are new pastimes, including that devotee, as Sanatana Goswami very beautifully describes in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita, what happens when Gopakumar arrives to Golok Vrindavan and so on. What will happen when we ourselves may arrive there. So all that will be a new wave of eternal being and also of eternal becoming. And eventually when a particular devotee is ready to accept, if you will, embrace her own ultimate spiritual identity, there will be a particular wave in the Swarup Shakti, if you will, some potential. We have potential as Tatastha Shakti. Swarup Shakti has a particular, unique, overwhelming potential as well, which eventually will give rise to what we may call our spiritual identity, that we will feel totally one with that at that point. Although we will remain as Tatastha, we are Tatastha Shakti and we will remain as Tatastha Shakti forever, even in those moments where we will be fully embraced by the Swarup Shakti in the context of having received the Siddha Deha. Because again, we can integrate with the Swarup Shakti much more, much better than what we are trying to integrate with the Maya Shakti, and we see it's not working. So in this chapter I will share considerable also bullet points with many quotes trying to show this notion of how the Siddha Deha is not inherent, and even not only the Siddha Deha is not inherent, what is the Sadhaka Deha, our body as sadhakas, as practitioners, is something that is given by Sri Guru. Diksha Kale Bhakta Karyat Masamarpana, in the moment of Diksha, Guru is bestowing the disciple with a Sadhaka Deha, the body of a practitioner. So if even our Sadhaka Deha is a gift coming from above by the grace of Bhakti and Sadhu Sangha, then what to speak of Siddha Deha?